Rin. Hello and welcome back to Red Room. So we're going to have a little bit of a break from Warhammery stuff and we're going to do some Hollow Knight / Silksong in the form of Hornet for a change. I have a 3D printer, so why not go and explore all the things we can do now. This is going to be quite airbrush heavy, I'm not going to lie, so it may be one of those that if you don't have an airbrush, maybe it isn't going to be so useful for you, but still it's worth looking at the process. And I promise it will be less airbrush heavy next time round. Okay, let's get on and roll the tapo. Bye! Apologies for the blurry cam, but this is some silver grey from AK Interactive, and we've already base coated Hornet's head, so we're just applying this using my Harder and Steenbeck Infinity 2024 Plus airbrush, which is an absolutely tremendous piece of kit. This is the 0.4mm nozzle, as we want Hornet's head to be nice and pure and white. The best way to achieve that effect is to base coat with some very light grey. And here is one of the major issues that we had. This is a fantastic representation of Hornet's slender frame, but it also meant that fragile, very, very fragile. So I've already at this point broken one of these bodies, so we ended up realizing the wisdom of printing multiples of things. So we've base coated her, and we base coated the base. But yeah, I wish I'd scaled this up a bit because those joins were quite fragile, and in the ferocious heat we've had recently, she started to list, so I had to do some emergency repairs. The resin started to melt a bit, I think. So we're using some pure white now, just to do the top half of her bonds. This should hopefully give us a little effect of the shadows underneath her. Now we move on to her cloak, so we're using some wine red from AK Interactive. Couldn't find a decent place to put this to spray it in a way that you could see, so unfortunately we've just ended up sacrificing the mat. I need to invest in a proper spraying station, but in time. So, graphite from AK Interactive. We're going to be using this to base coat the base. I thought long and hard about how I wanted to do this. I've gone for a sort of, bone bottom moss grotto kind of a colour scheme with this one. I thought it would be a nice contrast to the lovely red cloak. And we begin the highlights of said cloak now with the carmine red line. At this point I should have switched down to a smaller nozzle, but oh well, I wanted to live dangerously. Just using the airbrush to go over the high points of the cloak and leave the recesses. Well, that's the idea anyway. Done. We continue round. And then got ourselves some scarlet red for the final highlight. And this was when I decided to stop being stubborn and go down to a smaller nozzle, and also brilliantly decided not to put anything in shot for you. But don't worry, here it comes. And in a previous video from way back, I talked about how I achieve a nice juicy red, because one of the issues you may find is that if you over highlight, you end up with something that looks more orange than it does red. Well, I have a way around that, which I will now demonstrate. We've got a lovely magenta ink that will changes from looking a bit like a tomato or a chili pepper into a lovely sumptuous blazing red. And as you can see, when all of that scarlet red's been put on, that's what we look like. And it's fine, it's great, but it's just, and I will say I don't think the camera properly gives you an idea, but it's just a little bit orange. So using some Doomfire Magenta contrast paint, we're going to now tone all of that down and make it look a lot more pleasing. So back to the base. We're going to add some Basilicum Grey contrast paint onto it so that we can get some definition in there. Don't want to make this look too dark. Now, we agonised over whether or not to do this in a non-metallic metal style. Also, please learn from my mistakes and glue, or rather blue tack down your pieces so they don't go flying, like thus. But yeah, I was going to do this in a non-metallic metal style, but it's too hot for that nonsense, I'm sorry. So we went with some bolt gun, or forgive me, some gunmetal steel from AK Interactive, and then we just continued to make the same mistake twice. Back to our beloved graphite. We are going to use this as our first coat on the base for some dry brushing. I'm getting better at the art of dry brushing, but it's still, yeah, even for somebody with my level of experience, the answer is always brush off more than you think. If you think it's enough, it's not enough. Just keep going. not quite as important when you're putting on the first coat like this, but yeah, when you want to get your highlights and lighter bits, you want it, yeah, see, even there, I still hadn't brushed it off enough. As you can see now, we're going back to rub off yet more paint because we just haven't quite nailed it. And to do the highlights, we're using silver grey, and this would be a case where you need to make sure you've rubbed off really most of the paint on that brush. The thing below me is a texture palette from Artist Opus, but I'm sure you can find other alternatives if you need to. And that's what it looked like when I was finished. And then we move on to making this nice and mossy. So using these basing materials and some super glue, we stuck various little bits and chunks into the crevices of these, I'm guessing, insect shells or snail shells or whatever. So I used a craft knife to apply the super glue, so I had a bit more control and wasn't just squaring globs onto the base. And then took the chunks I'd torn off and applied them. Might have been wise to use some tweezers here, but they have their own issues as well, because they can get snagged on things. I added deep green and frog green from AK Interactive together, and then I applied it to the rim of the base. I hope this would provide a nice bright contrast to the red of Hornet's cloak. I then embarked on a doomed enterprise of putting on some black wash onto needle, and this then made the blade too dark. I had to try and correct that. It was a whole thing. I will spare you the worst of all of that. But what I did do was water down the original mix I used for the rim of the base, and put this into the recesses where there was moss to help further cement the idea of moisture and water running. And then we got some black and applied it to her eyes. I use gunmetal to dry brush needle to highlight. Then moved on to natural steel and did a further highlight. Then we use some silver for an edge highlight. After all of the messing around and going back and forth, that was what we were left with. And all in all, that's the whole model in its disassembled state. So it's now time to get her all together, which was a very painstaking process given the pegs on those feet. And please enjoy the showcase of the final product. Thank you for watching. Bye.